Hi, I'm Heather from Heather Handmade, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a fleece and flannel blanket. This is like a Sherpa fleece. It's really soft and warm. It has a lot of, it's just really squishy. And then on the other side is this really fun buffalo plaid flannel. Please like this video and follow my channel for lots of sewing handmade gift ideas and free sewing patterns. This blanket is so great for cold weather. It's really warm and cushiony because this fabric is so thick. This blanket is done with just a sewing machine and a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. You need quite a bit of fabric, but it's really only a seam and a hem. It's just that seam and that hem takes a long time because you're doing it on a big piece of fabric. But this is a project that a beginner can do if they're willing to just go slow and just do a lot of pinning. This blanket would make a really great handmade gift. It would wrap really big. It would look like a big present under the tree, but it would be very useful, and you can choose fun fabrics that will match, something that the person loves or something that will match their home. So let's get started. For this project, you just need two kinds of fabric. So when people say they use Sherpa, real Sherpa is real sheep skin and sheep wool, it's kind of like a leather or a suede with a fuzzy side. And then there's also faux Sherpa that's kind of fuzzy like this, but the other side looks like a faux suede. This fabric that I got is actually they call it a Sherpa fleece, so it's just like polar fleece but with a faux Sherpa side. It is a little bit easier to work with than the other two, but it is all polyester, so take that into account. It's essentially like working with polar fleece, so you can see that the back side, it just looks like fleece on this side, but it has that, kind of that lofty Sherpa edge. I have seen most places that sell blankets like this, they use either black or white. I have chosen to use this kind of off-white color, and then I have this red and black kind of small buffalo plaid that I'm going to be using for the other side. This is a flannel, and so this is thicker than quilting cotton, and this is nice and soft but can hold, both of these fabrics will hold in the heat for a really nice warm blanket. The Sherpa fleece, I have exactly 2 yards, and the flannel fabric I have 4 yards. The Sherpa fleece comes 60 inches wide, and the flannel comes 42 inches wide. So we're going to have to kind of adjust it to make the full width and full length of the blanket that I'm going for. I'm going for kind of a little bit larger than a lap size, something that is 60 inches wide and 72 inches long. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this flannel fabric, and I'm actually folding it in half. So this is the selvage and this is the center fold. So I'm folding it so that the two cut edges match up so that I can cut. Essentially, I'm cutting the fabric into 2 yards. So I have two 2-yard pieces. So that's down here. And I am just going to cut the fabric along this line. So now what you're going to do, these are 2 cut edges and these are 2 selvages. We're going to line up 2 selvages. I chose, because I'm using plaid, to have the same, to match these plaid pieces going this way. I'm not going to worry about it right here because this is just going to get sewn together. So I'm going to place these edges together And I'm going to sew these two selvages together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Once the seam is sewn, you can press it flat and open. So now this whole piece of fabric, all this flannel, this now measures 80 inches across and 72 inches long. And our Sherpa fleece is 60 inches wide and 72 inches long. So it's about the right length, but this now is a little bit too big. So we are going to just cut it in slightly so that we want the flannel to be 1 inch smaller on each side than the Sherpa, because the Sherpa is going to fold over for a nice hemmed edge. So I'm going to cut this width of this flannel. This is, like 84 inches. I'm going to cut it down to 58 inches wide. Now to prepare the Sherpa fleece, I am going to cut just some of this selvage off. We want to have a nice clean cut edge like this side so that when we fold it over to hem it, it will look the same as this side. So I'm just going to go along and just cut a little bit off of the selvage of each side. So to prepare the corners of the blanket, we are going to do a mitered corner, but we're going to do it in a pretty simple way. So fold over one side 1 inch and then fold over the other side 1 inch. And where these edges match up, so if you pull out that corner, kind of pull it out of the way. These corners, this is where you want the the end of the seam of the mitered corner to be, but we need to flip it around so it's right sides together. So I'm going to mark this with a pin. So that's the seam, and then you're going to just sew straight down like this to this fold. Back stitch when you start and when you stop. So we're going to do this to all 4 corners of the fleece fabric. So once you have these sewn, you're going to cut that corner off. So we'll just have a small seam allowance. And then when you turn it right side, then it just creates a nice little corner, and your the flannel is going to sit inside here like this. So we need to trim all of the other corners. So now we're going to take our flannel fabric, make sure that the seam, you have the seam allowance facing towards the wrong side of your fleece. And we are going to place this fabric in lining up all of the edges. You want it about 1 inch away, so you have 1 inch to fold over. So now you're going to fold the edge of the fleece over 1 inch so that we can finish this edge. depending on how, you know, so this fleece fabric has stretched slightly, so it is like a little bit like it hasn't been taken in enough, but I'm just going to pin it like this and just pin it down like this. We are going to zigzag over the edges of the fleece with a wide zigzag. So I'm just going to zigzag that. There's going to be a little bit of gathers, but it won't be that big of a deal. So once you have all of these edges pinned down, some of them I safety pinned so that it was easier to move around this blanket without the pins falling out. So now I'm going to zigzag along this edge. I want the outer needle, when it goes in, I want it to hit the edge of this fleece so it can secure that edge. It will keep this from happening, all of these little pieces falling off, if you zigzag right over that edge. So we're going to go all the way around. I'm going to use white to match this Sherpa fleece. It will be white on this side and on this side, but it's going to blend in well, and it will secure not only the hem and keep the edges from fraying, but it will also keep these two fabrics together at the edge. It will be a nice little border so that we don't have to add any quilting or stitching in the middle of the blanket. Once you have the edge finished all the way around and hemmed, your blanket is finished. So it has this nice border. That zigzag stitch just holds the fabric down, but it, you know, finishes that edge. It's a really nice look. And that's how you make a DIY fleece and flannel blanket. Please check out these playlists with handmade sewing gift ideas or free sewing patterns so that you can get inspired to sew something fun. I can't wait to see all of the blankets that you make. Please share them with me on social media, and I hope you have a wonderful day.